All right, sorry about the connection issue, guys. So I work as a senior full stack developer. I've been doing it 16 years now, and I've been employed by my current company for about 7 years now. At the company, we sell dental supplies to licensed dentists. So I get to do a lot of applications where those applications are used by customer service. The applications are used by the marketing department, the warehouse, and also my team. So a lot of what I do at work doesn't involve the public facing website. A lot of my work are for internal applications that drive the business. So today I'm going to talk about what is full stack, who is a full stack developer, the skills that you will need to become a full stack developer, the type of job opportunities that are out there, and what I've learned from my career as a full stack developer. So the first thing you need to know is that full stack, it refers to the different types of technology that you need to complete a project, specifically a web project or a mobile development project. And it usually involves 4 main things. So that would be the server that communicates with either the mobile device or the browser that you're using, the database where persistent information is stored, the programming language that you use for the website, and some tools to help you to create the application quicker. So some of those tools could be frameworks or libraries, or you could be writing the code with vanilla JavaScript, HTML, or CSS. So a full stack developer is a person who kind of has like 2 jobs. So that person works on the front end, which is the client side. That's usually what customers interact with. So whenever you go to a website, that's the beautiful part. That's the part that you interact with. So you click on buttons and you move things around on the screen. The back end is the server side. A person that uses a website never sees it. And it does a lot of things. It interacts and it sends the information to the front end. And one of the main things that make up the back end is the database that's being used, the web server that's being used to send the data to the front end. And for the back end, there are specific languages that are being used for that. So I'm trying to get through this really quickly because it's technical. So I'm giving you guys a high level idea of what full stack development is. So the basic skills that you would need to do a full stack is to know HTML, which is hypertext markup language, CSS, which is cascading style sheet. So HTML is the skeleton for the website. CSS is what we use to make the website look pretty, and JavaScript is what we use to make it interactive. And there are many backend languages that you could choose from. So depending on what type of project you're working with, you might use a different backend language. So to become really skilled at being a full stack developer, there are a few extra skills that you should learn. And it makes sense because knowing more about these skills allow you to work on multiple types of projects without having to spend a lot of time doing researching. So the main skill that you should have is computer science skills. So computer science skills means knowing how to use your data structures, how to problem solve using known algorithms or creating your own algorithms. Networking helps a lot because when you're working with the server, you'll be interacting with the network, and you will need to learn things such as opening up ports, closing ports, interacting with the file system, maybe through SSH, and other things like that that deals with the network. So what's really important about being a full stack developer, like I said earlier, is that it helps to know a few programming languages. So you could, if you know how to code in Java or Python or JavaScript, you can make decisions based on what the power of the language is. So if you are working on an application that involves machine learning, then maybe you would choose Python. If you are working on a microservice application, which is many services that interact with each other, maybe you would choose JavaScript to do that. So knowing multiple languages, that allows you to switch your stack easily. So there are different types of database management system, and depending on where you're working, they might already have a database management system in place. So knowing how to use different database management systems helps a lot, because like I said before, you don't want to spend a lot of time researching. Usually when you start a project, you want to get up and running as quickly as possible. A lot of full stack developers are employed at small companies. So sometimes those companies have legacy systems. So it helps to know how to use those tools. At my job, we actually have 2 legacy systems that we're working with. We are using RPG, which is an extremely old language for the IBM Power System server. So, and we're also using PHP there. A lot of people talk about PHP as if it's the worst thing on the planet, and we're still using it. And there's been some upgrades to the language. So coming in, knowing how to use PHP was a skill that was needed by the company when I started working there. So design patterns, I think I could have put that under computer science. So design patterns are specific types of ways to design your code to solve certain problems. So knowing what these types of patterns are, they help you to organize your code properly and help you to solve your programming issues very quickly. So knowing architecture is really important as a full stack developer. Your main job as a full stack developer is to start a project and be on that project until the end of the project. At my current workplace, I don't get tasks to work on. I actually get a project that I work on from start to finish. So one of the things that I do is I sit down with the marketing department and the other departments such as the warehouse when I get a project, and I map the requirements for the project, and then I decide what web development tools I will need to work on that project. So quality assurance testing is extremely important for being a full stack developer. Depending on the language that you're using, there might be some tools already available for you to use to test your application. JavaScript has a lot of them, so does Java. So cybersecurity is extremely important for you to know as a full stack developer, because your application needs to be secure. A lot of times when a company is breached, it's usually through the website. So along with having networking skills, it helps to make sure that your application is as secure as possible. And a lot of times you'd have to work with the networking department to make sure that whatever tools you're using for the website doesn't allow somebody to come into the website and make changes to the internal system. So you have to be very careful with how you code your applications. So APIs, application programming interface, knowing the rules for that is very important, because as a full stack developer, you will be working with a lot of software as a service businesses, because as a full stack developer, it's almost impossible for you to write everything for an application that you're working with. For example, one of the projects that I had a few years ago was to do personalization. When we first started, we looked at what the company needed for personalization, and we thought about whether or not that was an application that I could build. I started off looking into the technology and looking in through everything that I needed to complete that project. And when we realized that we needed to match customers with their order history, we realized it wasn't as simple as we thought, and that we needed machine learning. So we actually worked with a company to get that their software working with the website. So database management is very important. So you'll be connecting the front end with data through an API. So it helps to know how a database operates, maybe how to set up views, how to normalize tables if you're using SQL. So it's very important to know database management and to get your applications to perform in the best way possible. So knowing, depending on the organization that you're working with, you might be working with SQL, especially when you're working with an organization that has a legacy system. SQL lets you save the information based on their relationship. For the past few years, a lot of web applications have moved from SQL to NoSQL, but you still might need SQL depending on how clean you need your data to be and how quickly you need your database to be updated and things like that. So JSON is JavaScript object notation. JSON is used for web applications to transfer information. A lot of times it's used to transfer information between the front end and the back end. So it's really important that you understand all the rules for JSON and what you can and cannot do with it. Let's see. So let's talk about opportunities for work as a full stack developer. So as a full stack developer, if that is a career that you would want to go into, it will be helpful to focus on small companies or startup, because those are the companies that do not have a very high budget, so they cannot hire a separate front end or a separate backend developer. So they need somebody that can do both and can work on a single project and get it done from beginning to end. So it's the opportunities are right for getting a position at a startup or a small company. If you're a full stack developer and you'd like to work at a large company, because you already have the skills of a front-end developer or a back-end developer, at that point you could choose to specialize, or you could even work as the leader of a team. You could work as a leader of a team because you understand how to manage a project, you understand how to communicate with stakeholders, you understand how to collect information about a project, you understand the software development life cycle. So working as a lead is the same skills that you would need to do freelancing or consulting. So how do you become a full stack developer? First of all, you need to pick a stack. There are many stacks out there. There are stacks for, there's about 3 or 4 stacks for JavaScript. You have the MERN stack. You have, what is the one called with the view? So sometimes I remember the stack by the technology that make up the stack. So there's one that uses MongoDB. There's one that uses MERN, Express, Vue, and JavaScript. So there are many stacks out there. So it helps to do some research to see what you like. And the great thing about trying to become a full stack developer is that everyone who wants to be a web developer actually starts out as a full stack developer. So when you're first learning web development, one of the things that you learn is how to set up the tools for a stack on your own computer. So you'll be installing the database, you'll be working with the network, you'll be setting up your own server. So you might be using Apache or Nginx or something like that. So you do start out as a full stack developer. So by setting up your own computer, you could work on multiple different types of projects, and you could own your skill in a specific language by working on projects. So the key to becoming great at being a full stack developer is practice, 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 practice. So you have to practice and you have to study HTML, CSS, JavaScript, learn what the rules are, learn how the languages work. And another thing that you can do to become a full stack developer is to take an online course. So, the best way to find an online course is to Google and read reviews about the courses. So there are a lot of places where you can find a course. There's Pluralsight, there's Coursera, there is Udemy, there's LinkedIn Learning. So there's a lot of places out there that you could find information. And now that we're in a pandemic, some of these places are offering courses for free. If you are in college, you might get LinkedIn Learning for free. I'm in college right now for my master's degree in computer science, and I do get LinkedIn Learning for free through my college. So it's best that when you're learning, whether it is you're doing full stack development or any type of development, it helps to join a community. There are lots of communities on Slack, Discord, LinkedIn, Facebook. So you could use those to help you whenever you're stuck. So don't be shy to ask for help when you need it. I have a tendency to ask for help as soon as I need it because I've been doing development for such a long time now that I know when I don't know something and I ask quickly for help. So, so being a full stack developer, you're never done learning. So I know for me at my current job, whenever I get a project, it's always something new. So I'm always trying to do my research. And after I've done my research, and if there's a technology that I need to use that I don't know, I try to do some research and actually study about how to use that before I try to use it in my project. So what I've learned from my career as a full stack developer is that I should always expose myself to new technology. So I read a lot of blogs about what's happening in the web development community. I'm an owner of a JavaScript group, so I get exposure to new technologies based on the questions that members in the group ask. So that's very useful for me. I've owned my project management skills from being a full stack developer because I have to manage my projects myself. So you could find me on a lot of places. I have a group on LinkedIn called Coding Storytime. It has a weird URL. So it's 1383729. It's pretty weird. Sorry about that. I'm getting a phone call. You could find me on LinkedIn. You could look for the name Moya Richards, or you could just type in LinkedIn/IN/Moya Rich. You could find me on Facebook just by visiting my group, All JavaScript, or visiting my other group called Coding Storytime. I usually use that group to like rant about programming. So if you want to see me rant, visit Coding Storytime. If you want to get help with JavaScript, please make sure to join my JavaScript group. And if you're already on LinkedIn, you might not have to visit my Facebook page because I usually share the same content at moyarich.richards.dev. And that's my presentation, and you guys can ask me any question you want.
Moya, what is plural?
What is what?
Plural. I think you mentioned that. I may have heard it incorrectly. P-L-U-R-A-L. Did you say?
She said plural site.
Plural site.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a website where they have a lot of tutorials and books for programming.
Okay, thank you.
So Renee, just to provide you some context, Pluralsight is probably the leading provider in technology training. You know, you hear about things like Cybrary and Udemy and things like that, but Pluralsight is more targeted to professionals, where Udemy and Cybrary have, you know, a lot of novice type of training. It's not as sophisticated. So Pluralsight is something you generically pay for. I find it very beneficial. I have a subscription to it. It is costly, I think, for an individual. Membership is about $350. However, if you can get it through a school or your work or your library or something like that, it would be, I think, it'd be tremendously beneficial. You have some very high-end, you know, industry thought leaders that are teaching these classes. So A+ for me